Guys, it's been like what? Since I think
like
we were talking July, like it's been months since we've been back together. Unfortunately, Dr. Katie wasn't able to join us today last minute, but we have an amazing topic with the amazing experts here, Pam with Purrrfectly Holistic and Julianne from Naturally Cats. So excited to talk to you guys about itchy skin in cats, which is a very common issue that many cats struggle with. And I know like when it comes to the pet world or pet health world, it's very talked about when it comes to dogs, but when it comes to cats, not enough people in my mind are addressing this issue.
No, always the way though. More for dogs than there is for cats.
Always. Yes.
To be fair though, I do think that it might be a little more common with dogs.
Well, people see it a little bit more, right? So you might, but we'll discuss all the reasons why our kitties might be having itchy skin and what contributes to that. And then we'll be giving you guys some actual real life remedies that you can use to help your kitty with itchy skin. So let's start off for anybody that might be new since July and doesn't know who these lovely ladies are. And with a short intro, Pam.
Hey, well, I am the founder and CEO of Purrrfectly Holistic, and basically I'm a holistic cat lady, and I love educating and empowering cat parents to learn how to apply more of a holistic approach with their kitties' health and well-being. I'm a slave to 4 precious babies.
We understand.
One of them, which is howling in the background right as we speak.
I was wondering if that was yours.
Yeah, it was Gunner. He probably wants outside again, which, you know, it's chilly. He doesn't want to stay out, but like 5 minutes and then he wants in. You know, it's that dilemma. That's out or in, and I can't leave the door open because of the kittens. So yeah, here we are.
You have a full house, and we're so grateful for the work you do.
Yes, thank you. Yeah, I love energy work. Julianne and I both have a passion for energy and energy healing and energy work. It's powerful.
It is powerful. I have to say, Julianne, you are one of the biggest sneak attacks of my life, I have to say. Because we were doing roundtables with you for a year or more before we really used your services. You know, we know what you do and we love your herb gardens and all of that, but to really book a consult with you and be part of what you do, kind of life-changing.
Yeah.
It really is. So for anyone that doesn't know you never give an adequate intro, in my opinion, but try.
No, I don't like to talk about me. I like to talk about the cats. But thank you for your beautiful words. That really puts sparkle in my heart. So thank you. Yeah, welcome everybody and hello. Nice to meet you. My name is Julianne Thorne and I created Naturally Cats. I've got 2 boys of my own, Leo and baby Max. I've got 2 books. You can see one here, Cat Chakras. My other one is The Aromatic Cat, which is, as Adrian said, about using herbs and hydrosols and essential oils. I use energy work with cats, so I offer chakra cleanses, and I've got a new program which has become a soul-led cat guardian. So I'm helping people to connect with their cats. So I kind of call myself a holistic cat therapist and now a soul activator for cat guardians, because I want to change the world. You know, my mission is to change the world's perception of cats. And in order to do that, it's about helping people to understand, to hear their cats, receive their cats, and to really connect with their cats. So that's my mission. And I'm so honored to be here with these beautiful ladies. And like you said, so sad that Dr. Katie couldn't join us, but it's a great opportunity for us to speak to cats, to speak about cats, and to give you guys some hints and tips, you know, tonight on itchy skin. So thank you for having me.
Yes, I'm so glad you're. And it's funny because last time we had a roundtable, it was still light at this time where you are, but now that the weather's changing, that the seasons are changing, it's like it's all dark and it feels it feels fun. I like this time of year. It makes me happy.
Hey, we're gonna kick this off with an awesome comment by Felins1 on YouTube. I changed my 15-year-old cat tiger to a single protein food and also use your feline essential catalyst, itchy skin, and sores are gone in 2 weeks.
Oh, so this is some great information, right? As far as like different ways that us as cat parents can kind of get to try to figure out the root of why our cats have itchy skin, right? And getting to the root is what holistic means, right? And so there's, you know, there are a lot of things that we can do and sometimes need to do to treat symptoms, but overall, we need to get to the root so that we see it as a whole, right? We want to get to the root of why our cats are having itchy skin. And there are a slew. Yeah, yeah. There are a ton of reasons why our cats might experience itchy skin. And so let's address, like, first of all, the very common ones, obviously fleas, and, topical type issues. Ringworm can be itchy. Feline acne can be itchy. So like the topical type issues. And obviously I'm going to say obviously, I feel like that's my word today.
Obviously
is my word. Sorry in advance. But obviously we need to get our kitties into a vet clinic if we do not know what it is that is causing this and it's getting excessive. Sometimes we can try to see if we can figure these things out ourselves first. But if it is on a more serious level, we need to, make that vet visit right away. But there are a lot of things that we can do to help our cats if they have the topical type issues like fleas or other parasites, ringworm, mites. Yeah. So Pam, what would you say are some tools and tricks for this basic simple reasons that our cats have itchy skin?
An imbalanced immune system. It typically comes down to a gut issue, right? Because that's where the immune system is. And if there is an imbalance or something off there, then you're going to see those symptoms spill over onto the surface.
Yeah. Even with fleas and ringworm and these type of topical issues. And I love that you just brought it real immediately. I was sort of like kind of work to that, but that's true, right? Like the one thing that we've learned is fleas are attracted to the weakest of hosts, and that goes for any parasite, right? But they're attracted to the weakest of hosts. So I can tell you how many, especially during the peak of flea season, how many people come to us and they're like, I don't understand. A lot of people, beautiful people in the cat community do rescues and fostering and things like that. And they've got their cats together, but these cats have no issue in the same home with fleas, but these other cats are just covered in fleas, and it all goes back to the gut imbalance, right?
It really does. It really does. So I think one of the first things that you have to do is look at what you're feeding oftentimes, because, whatever goes in the mouth ends in the gut. So what is contributing, or what could potentially be contributing to stress or imbalance there? If it's food, one of the first things I obviously tell people is, ask them is, what are you feeding? What kind of diet are you feeding? Because that goes a long way. If we don't get the diet right, you can't out supplement a bad diet.
No, it's true. It's true. And I just like to go back to fleas, just because this is a super passion point for Adrian and I do want to say that there are so many options out there where we can get these fleas under control without using the harsh chemical flea treatments that you get over the counter or at your vet's office. We see so many side effects, scary long-term side effects from using these chemical flea treatments. So we are very passionate about letting cat parents know that there are a ton of options out there of natural, healthy ways that we can still treat fleas, kill fleas, larvae and eggs, all of it, without using these harsh chemicals. So,
and like you said, we need to decide if that is the issue, right? So exactly like you said, when it comes to the root cause, let's go back a step. Do you know you've got fleas? There's no point in treating topically, medicine, spot-ons, natural stuff, anything. There's no point in doing anything unless you know what you're dealing with, So like you said, like, have you got fleas? So as you said, Jay, like first port of call is a vet check, and obviously there may be some cats that don't cope well with travel or don't cope well at the vets. But like, if you notice a change in your cat, their skin, they're itching more, you start to see sore bits, we can always look for stuff and ways to help, but you do need to make sure that there's not something else going on that, needs to have that kind of medical treatment. And I agree with what Pam said, diet plays a big part. And, when it comes to fleas, like, what can you see on your cat? Is that, so we've had an instance this summer, actually, first year we've ever had it, where Leo had harvest mites, which I think you guys call them something different.
Lice.
Harvest.
Lice.
No.
Chiggers.
Chiggers.
Yes. I was going to say Katie told me the name, and it was some weird. Sorry. It was some weird.
They are
weird name. Chiggers. Never. Yeah. So what I noticed, he kept like chewing at his paw, and I'm like, dude, what is going on there? Because it was out of his normal. And when I went to give him his asthma inhaler one day, I noticed that chiggers are evil. Jennifer, I totally agree. I noticed that I was like, oh, he's got dust on his paw, like that, to brush it off. And I was like, and I'm not going to curse. I'll try not to curse. I was like, oh my gosh, but worse. It was like his paw was like moving, right? It was disgustingly gross, like really, 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 really gross. And I'm like, right, we're going to the vets. Because I don't know what this is. I have no way of understanding. I can Google it, and I did Google it. I had a good Google. I love a good Google. But I was like, I need to find I need to find more. I need help, Why is that funny?
I'm totally going to use that. I have a good Google. I love a good Google.
And go on. Sorry.
What result did you get? Like, did you?
So we went to the vets. Oh, so before I went, because I'm a super sleuth, I got some of the bugs and put them in a bag. Right, I got some tweezers. I put some on a tissue and I put them in a bag. So I've got little teeny tiny, like little square plastic bags, and I took some with me. Some were dead, some were alive. It was disgusting, but I couldn't actually take Leo because he doesn't travel very well. So I checked baby Max. He had them too on his back paws, and I'm like, oh my god, my house is infested. What? I'm gonna barf. Like, it was gross. So I took baby Max because he traveled better. Said to the vet, this is what's on my cats. He put it under the microscope, came back, said to me, it's early, but it's harvest mites. And I'm like, I may vomit. I was like, okay, what do I do with that? So he said to me, you've got two choices. One, take a tablet. I'm like, how does giving them a tablet and putting something in their bloodstream, in their tummy, help what's on their paws? Can you explain that to me? Which he couldn't. Second option, use basically like a spot on, but a spray. I'm like, well, how does that work? Because Leo's asthmatic. How can I spray something that's a chemical topical application on my asthmatic cat? So I said, thank you very much for your information. I'm going to go away and do my own research. So I basically sat with it. And the first thing that I did is I was like, right, what do I know? I know that green clay powder is antifungal, antibacterial, and like green clay powder is amazing. I'm like, right, I can make my own. I can make my own fungicidal spray type dust. So basically I got some neem oil. I mixed it in, which the recipe, wrong book. The recipe is in here. Actually, it's Nyana's recipe for a flea treatment. So it was neem oil, green clay, and she uses something else, but I didn't have it. So I was like, right, we'll give it a go. And basically twice a day for about a week, I used a makeup brush, like a small little brush, and I dusted it on their paws morning and evening, and they were gone within a week.
Oh, so nice. Okay. So just have to throw out there. I know this is about itchy skin, and I think that, and I love this. And so I have to throw out there so everybody can just hear that again. What Julianne did is what we highly recommend for every cat parent, right? Is that we need our vets. We need their direction. We need their guidance. We need the information and diagnosis, right? But that doesn't mean we always need their resolution or their treatment. We know our cats best. And what you did could make me cry right now because it is so beautiful. And we literally actually just did skits on that with Dr. Katie a couple weeks ago at Thriving Pet Expo, speaking just about this, which is how you can speak to your vet and say, thank you for this. I'm going to do my own research first. I'll come back if I can't find anything else, but I'm going to do my own research first because I know my cat best. And I feel like there's another option out here. You might not have that. Somebody else may. So that's just a great thing for all of us to know as cat parents, is that we need our vets, but that doesn't necessarily mean we always need their solutions.
Their solution, like they have solutions. That's not the only solution. Sorry, Adrian, what were you going to say, my love? Yeah.
Well, no, that's just it. That so often we go, because it is so, whether it's urinating outside the box, whether it's itchy skin, whatever it may be, you notice something weird. Let's not just be like, oh, well, that's interesting. Let's do a vet visit. So let's figure out what's going on. But oftentimes it's just the beginning, because you take something like this and bring into account, are they eating well? Are they pooping and peeing all right? Is their energy normal? And then something like this is obvious, right? But if your cat is stable and happy and whatever, but we're just dealing with this, oftentimes that visit is the starting spot to help get more information that can only be gotten from our teammate veterinarian. But then we can go and do exactly as you did, because those treatments for an asthmatic cat, or for any cat that is dealing with parasites, it's actually going to weaken their whole overall immune system by those chemical toxins that their body has to flush through. It's not just getting rid of the problem. Their body is still dealing with that, which I know Pam deals so often with people that are now having to do a detox from something that was given internally.
Right. And essentially it makes them more susceptible to the same issues in the future because we're weakening the immune system. Like Pam said, the cats are attracted, or the parasites are attracted to the weakest of hosts. And so if they get on your kitty and they have a lower immune system, a weakened immune system, then they're going to take over more easily than others. So I think, I think that's beautiful. Now, going back to gut health and food, right? The other very common reason that cats get itchy skin is diet related, oftentimes an allergy, right? So there's different types of allergies, and Pam, you're like the expert when it comes to allergies, in my opinion. So I want you to speak to the allergies, the different types of allergies that cats deal with, and then how we can go about helping those things.
Well, sometimes it's an allergy, sometimes it's just a sensitivity, because there's a difference, and people think that, I don't know that people are familiar with the concept of just sensitivity, An allergy is when the body has an actual immune response to something. So you might see hives and redness, and it's, like anaphylactic shock is an immune response to something that is paralyzing the body's ability to, process something like a bee sting or whatever, and swelling, and their throat swells up or their face swells up and things like that. That's an allergic reaction. But a sensitivity might just be, a rash or the itching and things like that. So I find that oftentimes there's a food sensitivity, but not necessarily an allergy, so to speak. And oftentimes you might look at what they're feeding. Are they feeding a dry food diet? Are they feeding a bunch of plant protein that their body is not able to break down and metabolize because they're not designed to eat that? I see it a lot with corn and wheat and legume products. That can cause irritation. But also, I think you have to look at even the common proteins like chicken and fish that are in everything. It can be more susceptible if that's all you're feeding that cat is the same protein over and over and over again. I think they have a greater potential of developing a food sensitivity to that same protein, versus if we diversify their gut a little bit more. Have you guys seen that as well?
Yeah, we've seen it with our own cats.
To your point, though, of you saying that it's in everything, I want to specify that could be like, the lamb recipe or the turkey recipe or the beef recipe. If you look at the ingredients, which is what we had to do with our Pooh Bear, you recognize that there's a fish broth or a chicken byproduct or something in there. So that means that you're saying that you got to read the ingredients, even if you think, I've been feeding a chicken or fish pate or whatever, I'm going to switch to something else. Look at those ingredients, because oftentimes you've got to do a little extra sleuthing to really figure out that protein.
Get your big magnifier out, because it's very fine print. And it's probably listed, it'll say a tuna product or even a rabbit product, and we think, oh, it's rabbit. But if you look at the list, it's like, 5 ingredients down, it says chicken. So it's not just rabbit a lot of times, or it's not just lamb. Those are more expensive proteins, so they just throw in, the cheaper protein to kind of bring the proteins levels up. and keep the cost down. So
Yeah.
we have to realize that a lot of times.
And if there's not, that's not a bad thing if your cat's
Mhm.
not having a sensitivity to fish or chicken, right? Like it's still like, oh, we're diversifying the gut because we're feeding different types of protein. So that's okay, right? But it's so important that and I will say sensitivity, yes, I have yet to hear any veterinarian say sensitivity. They will always say food allergy. I believe it's a food allergy, right? People come to us every single day and they're like, the vet said my cat has a food allergy. I don't know what to do. They want to put him on this hydrolyzed protein diet, right? And I don't know what to do. And then we have to go through the process of explaining what that is and how you, as the pet parent, can go through an elimination diet. And just like you said, here are the very common sensitivities. If you're feeding a dry food, then, there's look and see if you see wheat, gluten, if you see corn, soy, all of these ingredients that are hypoallergenic. Is that the right word? Hyperallergenic for our kitties. But so then obviously we're always going to coach to wean off of dry food in general, but the fish and chicken are very, very common. And then we just have to read those ingredients and switch them to a better protein. And you'll see, how long do you typically see when you switch somebody to a different, we're thinking the same. When you switch someone or when you help a cat parent switch to a new protein or a new diet, how long does it typically take for those symptoms to subside?
Oh gosh, days. Like almost within a couple days.
Yeah.
Because it takes a while for the old stuff to process out through the body once you stop feeding that. But within days, you could see a reduction in symptoms and itchiness and things like that. So that's your clue. It's like, what was I feeding before? And now I'm not feeding that. So, wow, that's very interesting. If you take a break for like 3 months of that old protein that was causing a lot of stress, sometimes you can reintroduce it and it's fine again. The body just needs a break, So we don't need to overload it. And I saw a comment over here about someone who struggles to find something without fish products. Fish oil is not always the stressor, but the fish product. If your cat has a sensitivity to salmon or tuna is probably real common. It doesn't mean that you couldn't do a salmon oil or a tuna oil or an anchovy oil, because that's a fat, not a protein. So just be mindful of that. So you don't necessarily have to limit yourself to the omegas if your cat has a fish sensitivity, because it's not the same thing.
Well, and you think about how common food allergies and sensitivities, probably more commonly, are for itchy skin. But another great example of sometimes it's not about giving your cat something, because I think that's what we want, is an instant relief for them, right? Like the comeback is always like, well, your cat is very uncomfortable. I just want to go ahead and give it this immune suppressant so the body stops reacting.
Like a Topica.
But we're not knowing what the issue is, when instead we can go home and be like, okay, is this more of a food sensitivity? Let's try something else. Wait a few days to see if there is a reduction in symptoms. And instead of having added something that is taking a toll on their immune system in general, now we've taken something away and we're getting to the root cause. Yeah,
we're getting to the root of the issue. And Pam, Pooh Bear was just like that. So it was, I took him to the vet. I did like you did, Julianne, and they said that he had, it was actually rodent ulcers, but still topical issues. And they said steroids. And I was like, of course, being in this industry so long, I'm like just hesitant to jump to steroids immediately. So I was like, let me do my own research first and I'll get back to you. And I came home and I did a good Google, and I had a good Google, and I found out that this exact information that
for the first time
that cats can be uber sensitive to certain proteins like chicken and fish. I think I learned it from Dr. Karen Becker, and everything he was eating had fish in it, and he was on a canned diet at the time. So I was like, oh, okay, because he loved it. So it was like, great. But then it was like, and we have 5 other cats at the time. So I'm like, okay, what are we going to do? So we switched all of them off of fish, and we just got a bunch of different variety of different proteins. And you're right. It took a few days before we started seeing a reduction. It took about 2 weeks to see nothing. Again, like no, like you could see them getting better, and then they disappeared in 2 weeks. And we were like, yes, no steroids needed. That's amazing. So we can do these, we can be proactive as pet parents too when it comes to.
Marilyn Bickle, my love, she is here with an interesting question. I want to see if either one of you have an idea. Could it be that it was what the chicken was being fed that causes an allergic reaction or a sensitivity, and not the chicken itself? Like if you were to do a free range happy bird versus the super farmed out antibiotic filled chicken, which I'm not sure we get that choice in a lot of the cat foods that we feed.
Right.
Have you guys had, did you guys see that thumbs up?
Did you see that? Her computer's been doing that so much lately.
I don't know.
We don't know what it is. We must have accidentally turned it on. I don't know. It's doing it during our morning meetings too. We're like, what is that?
But have you guys ever heard of that? Or do you think that is a contributing factor to some of these
sourcing? Go ahead, Julian. Go ahead.
Possibly. I think it depends what you're feeding. Like if it's raw, then yes, quite possibly that could have a bigger impact than if it's wet or canned or processed. I mean, it depends how the chicken is prepared. Is it lightly cooked? Because then you're going to change the composition of it compared to if it was raw. So yes, if you're feeding an organic, beautiful flying and fluffy chicken versus, like you said, the caged, antibiotic fed versions, that is going to impact their cells, which obviously will impact their joints, their tissues, their muscles for sure. So I mean, that's why I think I say, and I'm sure that you three, and I'm sure Katie as well says it, say do the best you can with what you've got. So what's the best you can afford? What's the best quality you can get hold of? What's the best brand that you can offer? If you're not comfortable with raw, can you do wet? Can you do fresh? Do the best you can with what you've got. So yes, I think it could potentially be that. Is it something that you're likely to ever get an answer to? Probably not. There is unlikely to be a test or a way to investigate that to figure that out. What about you, Pam? Oh, sorry. Go on, darling.
No. Go ahead, Pam.
No, I was just going to say it absolutely can. And if you think about especially fish, I learned this from Poppy Phillips. Studies are finding that there's actually microplastics in seafood. So your cat may not be reacting necessarily to the tuna, but to the heavy metals or the plastics that they're absorbing and things like that. And, antibiotics or whatever the chicken may have been, the genetically modified feed that they were eating and stuff like that. But here's where your testing can come in. So if you're not familiar, is it VDI Labs or is it IPL? I think it's IPL that does the sensitivities that you can send in a test kit. You can get a test kit from that tests, like Dr. Jean Dodds does her test kit, but I think it's Innovative Pet Labs does no, not them. No. It's Yukari. Yukari has a test kit that you can send in a sample of their saliva, I believe, and they can figure out what they're sensitive to and what comes up on their testing results.
Oh, that's awesome. If you can drop a link to that, even if it's after this, if you can drop a link or someone on your team can drop a link to that, that would be awesome and helpful for the audience. And I will say that I learned from Billy Hookman from Green Juju, past in answers, that I've always said that chicken is one of the highest inflammatory meats, right? Because and I had learned that it's like on a scale of like omega-6 to omega-3 fatty acids, we're looking at like 19-1. So that's what makes it so inflammatory, is that the omega-6s are so high and omega-3s are so low. And then I learned from Billy that it does depend, Marilyn, on the raising of that actual chicken, because the chickens that they were raising at the time had it was almost a 1-to-1 ratio as far as birds. And so the chicken that they were putting into their pet food was not inflammatory, like the majority of factory farm chicken is. So
Yes.
And Pam just dropped the link for
Yukari
sensitivity
testing kits.
It's
Yeah.
super helpful.
It's cool because it doesn't necessarily just test food, but environmental. It's a very like comprehensive.
I love that. So let's move on to environmental allergies, because that's another reason that cats get itchy skin on a regular basis. And that is like the hardest to like figure out just as a cat parent, right? Like if you're just like a regular cat parent and my cat's itching and I don't know what it is, how do you know what in the environment might be causing that itchy skin?
Yeah, I think there's a couple things. Number one, itchy skin, environmental stuff is not normal. It's common, but it's not normal. Let's make sure there's a distinction there. We have to look at why the immune system is out of balance. So if you want to peel back layers a little bit deeper, I think environmental stuff can be like a secondary trigger to an immune system that's already having issues and overstimulated somehow, and they just can't mount a normal histamine response to things like trees and weeds and pollens and things like that.
Yep.
So what's commonly causing that is the vaccines, but we can get to that in a second. Environmental stuff, I've shared this a lot on podcasts. If you can find like a web-based resource that will show you like the air quality in your area, what is blooming right now. I use pollen.com, www.pollen.com, and it will pull up the top 3 environmental allergens in the air, whether it's weeds, grasses, trees, pollens, whatever. And you can start to journal and start to keep a record of, okay, my cat is really starting to be so itchy, or their ears are flicking a lot, and they're doing all of this. A lot of times that's just histamine from the little molecules, the pollen molecules that are tickling and causing a histamine response. So I would start to pay attention to what's going on in your air. Even if an indoor cat starts to have this kind of stuff, I remind people that your HVAC system pulls in fresh air from the outside. So every time you open and close your door and come in and out of your home, that fresh air is coming in, and it's not always being filtered through your air filters and your HVAC and things like that. So even cats that are indoors and don't go out can be sensitive to allergens in the air and pollens and things like that too.
Yep, absolutely. And I also want to throw in there that the studies have shown that one of the most common allergies that indoor cats or that trigger indoor cats is actually our household cleaners. So a lot of times it's not even what's in the air outside, which this would be also unfortunately common, but not even necessarily like it's the amount of chemicals that you're using, especially consistently over time, which will weaken your cat's immune system, right? So plug-ins, air fresheners, even some like not the true essential oils, but the synthetic essential oils, the floor cleaners and the counter cleaners. Like your cats will walk around this, they have to breathe all of this in, and it is a very common trigger for allergies in cats, because and just because we don't know usually, right? Like, I mean, I know for so long, and we had so many issues. Even an asthmatic cat had no idea that it was also because asthma and allergies are often triggered by indoor chemicals in the home. And it's crazy the amount of chemicals that have been tested, and this is scientific, in cats specifically, more so than dogs and way more so than humans. Our cats, our household cats, are it's in their bloodstream now. It's concentrated in their bodies because of the chemicals that we use in the home.
I have a story to share.
Go ahead. Go on, Pam. No, go on.
My cat Lily at our old house would oftentimes spend a lot of time in my ex's office, which was upstairs, and he liked burning certain candles or spraying the air freshener. You know, there was a bathroom right around in the corner, and she would start to scratch and have red skin. And I, of course, me, you know, muscle test everything, and I figured out it was an irritant from the pollutants, the chemicals that she was being exposed to because she was in his vicinity, right? So I said, you've got to stop using that shit, because I didn't want it. You know, I don't want that kind of stuff in my home to begin with. So that was always a point of contention, you know. So
X.
one of the reasons. So yeah, and it's interesting because when that stopped, when I could show him, like, look, this is what it's doing to her, and she's sitting in that environment, and it went away, you know, and she was miserable. She was just, you know, constantly just scratching and itching, and it was red, and her eyes would water real bad. I'm like, you got to stop. You got to stop. So we just don't realize, like you said, how polluted our indoor air quality is with all the stuff we put in our homes.
Yep.
Yeah. Julia, what were you about to say? Especially since you have an asthmatic baby, you were about to say something.
I echo what you guys say about, you know, what are we using in the home? So cleaning products, that's definitely something to think of. Fabric softeners, washing liquid, you know, what do you wash your sheets in? You know, fabric softener, again, there's new research that's come out. I don't have the links, but Nyana, my co-author, mentioned it to me, that there are studies now that show that fabric softener, you know, it gets into mother's milk in newborn babies and stuff. So basically it gets absorbed by the skin. You know, so like, are you know, what products are you using in the house? And actually, like you said, Jay, I would include essential oils can be potentially toxic, you know, because the scent molecules, whether it's concentrated or diluted, you know, synthetic or natural, that's still a chemical. You know, it's still a scent particle that cats can have on their coat. So if, you know, we're talking about itchy cats, we've talked about how you can support them internally, diet, nutrition, gut health, you know, and also there's the topical side. So there is the two-pronged approach to it. So if you've got reed diffusers, if you're burning out, you know, I love essential oils, but I use it with self-selection. You know, the cat has the choice. If you're constantly burning essential oils, it might smell lovely for you, but cats' their livers don't function the same way that ours do. So we've talked about a compromised immune system. If you weaken a part of the body, so if you're burning, say, essential oils or reed diffusers, you know, the scentsy candle waxy melt things, they're very, very sensitive to smell. I don't like them, so we don't have them in our house. The cat's body is working overtime to process that from the air, you know, so they've already got, in a way, a compromised immune system from being exposed to that in their environment. Then that, like you said, Pam, that leads to a sensitivity because they're diminished in one aspect. So, you know, what cleaning products are you using? How often are you using them? And what is the cat exposed to? They walk on your floors. How often are you mopping your floor with bleach or with a concentrated, you know, floor cleaner? How are you, you know, what are you doing with the dishes? You know, we have a dishwasher, but I also rinse the boys' plates before I put the food, because if I get it straight from the dishwasher, that's had a nice tablet in there to clean my dishes, you know. So do I want them to be licking that? No, not really. So it's there's always more we can do. And I appreciate sometimes people may feel overwhelmed because we talk about so much in these roundtables. We cram so much information in. But what is the one thing that resonates for anybody watching? You know, you don't have to think about all the things that we've talked about. We're trying to give you guys some hints and tips and different avenues to explore. We don't have cleaning products in the house that I use frequently. I have a lot of natural things, you know, so I mix up my own. I will clean when the boys are out, you know, and I don't use the scent stuff. That being said, Leo still has asthma attacks. You know, he still has coughing. I still have to use steroids at times. We don't do it all the time. We're now starting to offer him bone broth in his dinner, which he absolutely loves, to support his gut health. You know, so we're trying to do different things to support him. And like Pam said, though, I've noticed that now when we're in autumn, but as we start to get rainier, Leo coughs more. He doesn't do well with a damp environment. Can I control the rain? Absolutely not. I mean, I'm good people, but not that good, you know, so I can't affect that. But I'm aware that the moisture in the air has an impact for him. So, you know, is there a way I can help support him with a dehumidifier in the house or whatever it may be?
Yeah.
You know, I know that when we have a Christmas tree, I didn't have one last year, but every time we've had a Christmas tree before that, when we've had Leo, he coughs more. So I'm like, I probably won't have a real one this year because there is something in that, you know, the type of tree, like Pam said. I made a note of that pollen website. I am so all over that one. So I think, you know, it's a question of looking at what can you do? What have you explored already, you know, and taking a step, trying one thing at a time. Like don't try too many things in one go, because if I've made that mistake with pickle before I knew that I could question the vet, before I knew that I could ask for a second opinion, or I could use my own methods to support the vet's diagnosis with things, I just did what the vet said blindly. So, you know peeps, that you can ask questions. You can pause before treatment if it's appropriate and you feel like it's the right thing to do, and try one thing at a time. You know, we made too many changes all at once. And sometimes with Leo, I'll be at desperation point and, you know, I'll try to change in 2 or 3 things. And then I don't know what's made an impact.
Right.
And the other thing to say is like, sorry, Jay, go on, darling. I'm just chatting away.
Keep going. I love it. And your accent. Can listen to you all day.
The other thing to say is, which we haven't mentioned, and I'm going to say this last bit, and then Pam, I'm totally handed over to you for the vaccine stuff, is our energy. You know, when we're worried about our cats, what happens? We freak out. We love them so much. For some of us, they are our whole world, and we freak out because we love them. And what happens then? That changes our vibration. It changes our energy. It changes how we feel. It changes what our cats can feel. So just bear that in mind. If you're dealing with, I'm sorry, I'm going to have to curse, but if you're dealing with a shit show with your cat, whether that's itchy skin or some other problem, take a breath, peeps, because it can be really hard, and that's okay. It's okay that it's hard. But it's okay to just pause and to take one step and to try one thing, or to get one piece of advice, or to follow, you know, one method of trying something new. But just be kind to yourself if you're dealing with this. Something like itchy skin, it could be a quick fix. You could make changes and see things, you know, turn themselves around. Or I'm sure there's some of you on here that have been dealing with itchy cats for months, you know, and if that's the case, like, we feel you. And maybe, you know, reach out to some of us, see if we can help you more. But just take a moment to look at how far you've come and look at how much you're doing for your cats, and know that you're trying your best, and they know that too.
Yeah, I love that. And I really want to get to the stress factor for itchy skin as well. Because this is like the team. And then I have somebody I need to introduce you guys to.
Oh my gosh.
This is going to be a fun one. Okay. But real quick. Yeah. I want to just go back to environmental allergies to give some value to the audience as far as certain things that you can do. They're not overwhelming. When it comes to household cleaners, vinegar and water, guys, the only thing that you have to get over, and I'm saying this from experience because I was a freak about the good smells. I had the plugins, I had the air freshener, I had the bleach, the good smelling cleaner, like all of that stuff was my jam. I needed my house to smell. I thought I needed my house to smell like it was a fresh, clean thing. Right. So the only thing that you have to get over personally as a human is having that aroma in your home. But vinegar and water is the cheapest, easiest way. Amazing. You're going to save a ton of money, and you're going to clean just as well. In fact, I don't know if you guys have laminate floors. It cleans our laminate floors way better than those Swiffers and all those other cleaners that we would spend, concentrated cleaners that we would spend a lot more on. We're saving a ton of money on these, on cleaning with like just natural stuff. There's also some, natural things that you can purchase if you need to wean yourself off of that smell, that do have the, natural lavender, the natural smells, but it's not all synthetic. Am I?
A little bit.
Okay. Remember, That worked.
Oh man.
Okay. Anyway, so environmental allergies, if it's in the home, like household toxins, then vinegar and water. If it is an allergy out, like an environmental allergy to pollens and weeds and things like that, there are immense studies on the powers of omega-3 fatty acids, and using this on your cats for, or in your cats for reducing inflammation and really helping allergies for environmental pollens, things like that.
But back to Pam's point, what Julianne was just going to kick it back to talk about vaccines, because as you mentioned earlier, that cats having a reaction to the great outdoors, grass, trees, weeds, whatever it is, it's not natural. It's common, but it's not natural. And you wanted to share a bit about what you've learned as far as what's causing that kind of reaction for many
Getting
cats.
to the root.
Yeah, I don't think people realize, and maybe a lot of people in this audience do, but like in general, I don't think people have connected the dots and looked at the timelines of when they took their cats in for their annual vaccines, and then they start to see the immune responses, the itching, the licking, the fur pulling, scratching, hives, whatever it might be. And sometimes they start within days. Sometimes they start within 30 days, 3 months. I mean, there is something triggering the immune system, and it's typically the vaccine ingredients, the heavy metals. These are toxins. And the whole point of a vaccine is to stimulate an immune response. But sometimes that gets way over ramped, right? And the body doesn't really have an off switch, especially when you have a cat that's been revaccinated over and over and over. It's like you just keep pouring more toxins into that body that's 10 pounds, and there's no off switch and there's no elimination of those things. So I think we have to be smarter about how often we are vaccinating. And we've talked about this in other shows, so you guys can go watch those episodes about over vaccination and all that. If you haven't seen it, go watch that, because we talk a lot about this. But we've got to stop doing the stuff that's causing a lot of these problems, because like I said, there's usually a base root cause, and then the environmental stuff is just like the icing on top. It's just another symptom. It's a layer to show you that something is off. But it's not normal for a cat to be allergic to ragweed. It's not normal for them to not be able to go in the grass, or even if they're indoors, to have, allergic reactions and itching and all this kind of stuff. We have to take those toxins out of the body, those heavy metals out of the body. We have to stop overstimulating the immune system so that we can stop that cytokine storm. And then when the body can calm down and the immune system can heal, and there's steps that you can take to healing the immune system, sealing the leaky gut, soothing and calming the inflamed tissues in the gut lining. That's a part of that whole process. We have to take those steps so that the immune system can calm down, and then they won't be itching and going crazy all the time. Do the steps that we suggested on cleaning up your household, air quality and toxins and things like that. And a lot of people in this audience are doing that or have done that already. So if you're still having issues, just start to go back and look at how long it's been going on and what happened right before that started. Because a lot of times that's a clue, like, it was the time I put that flea medication on them, or or got their vaccines, and it was about 30 days later, and that's when I started seeing all this.
And then it snowballs.
Yeah, and you think about the amount of a vaccine, right? When you're saying 10 pounds, a lot of these, we see it a lot in like shelter cats that are, taken in as kittens, and they're vaccinated and they're dewormed and they're fixed and all the stuff before they're 6. And then a year or two down the road is when it's like, oh my God, they're allergic to everything.
Yeah.
I wish I'm missing Dr. Katie very much right now, because I think that I know we're already running out of time, but I think that just a small conversation on the detox pathways. You said whether it's heavy metals, whether it's the contaminants, the toxins, the chemicals, the body needs to get rid of that, and how important those detox pathways are. At Thriving Pet Expo, Rita Hogan, the amazing herbalist, gave an incredible lecture on the lymphatic system and how much that works. But I think, we use milk thistle to help with some natural detoxing of the liver. What are a couple tips that you have of things that people can just kind of pulse? We live in a very toxic world, so it's not like, oh, I have to do this because of that. Sometimes it's just a healthy thing to kind of put into the routine of something that's helpful with the detox. What are some of your top recommendations?
Well, before you do any kind of a detox work, I want to make sure that those drainage pathways are open. So even if you took 2 weeks and did some burdock root or the Newton detoxifier for pets to open those drainage pathways, the worst thing you can do is skip the lymphatic support part first, because then you're just throwing the body's not eliminating the toxins, and they can actually make the pet feel worse, because they're just recirculating. So it can look like it's worse. But having something like the Animal Essentials Detox Blend that includes the milk thistle plus great herbs for lymphatic support, or liver defense by Animal Essentials, it's milk thistle and dandelion, so those combinations address both parts. The I think Katie calls it the first detox and the second detox pathway. So lymphatic and then liver. And then if you know that your cat has had flea or tick meds or vaccines with heavy metals, add something like a heavy metal cleanse. It can be like the one that I love, because it's just literally a drop, is the Heavy Metal Chemical Binder by Global Healing. It's literally a drop and it doesn't taste bad. You can use something like that. You could use zeolite, something that's going to bind that metal or those chemicals and get them out of the body a lot faster. So, yeah. And pulsing, we live in a toxic world. So it's not like a one and done. And I'm not saying go crazy, but every, like maybe once a quarter, you do just a mini detox, like do a week of lymphatic, do a week of milk thistle for liver, and then do a week of heavy metal or chemical stuff, because they're exposed to stuff. We all are.
Well, right.
Yeah. No matter what it is, no matter how much we try to clean up our home, we can't, just like you can't make it stop raining, Julia. Right. We can't control the toxins in the air outside of our home, right? That we're just, especially in the States, we're riddled with.
And stuff that's in the food, even well-meaning pet parents who think they're feeding a very clean diet. Well, you don't know what that animal ate, just like Julianne was talking about, So the processes and the stuff that they put in, the additives, and we don't know the sourcing all the time. So it's just smart to do those intermittent, targeted support for liver and, gut health and things like that, just to be proactive about it.
Yeah, agreed. Now, because I did not realize we've been talking this long, this is crazy, but I want to get to the, and this is not less common. In fact, I want to say it's probably more common that we see our cats itching, scratching, over licking, over grooming themselves. That's not necessarily due to itchy skin. I'm echoing again. Whatever. But it's also induced by stress and stress, and the stress of oftentimes, like you said, Julianne, the pet parent, right? We had the pleasure and honor of meeting Dr. Barry Sands 2 weeks ago. And you two would literally just drool. Like, you would absolutely freaking love her. If you haven't met her yet, you would absolutely freaking love her. She is like,
she has an ER vet of 15 years, and I was just so fascinated by her. Very, when you meet her, there is, much as with meeting you guys, there's just this very incredible vibe a very powerful and calm vibe. It was really an incredible experience. And we had the pleasure of hanging out with her afterwards. And she really kind of spoke, especially your language, Julianne, about talking about being a cat therapist. And you've often said it, and I was going to say, in my experience, you're kind of a human therapist as well. I had an appointment with Julianne that you do a lot of healing for the human as well. And Dr. Barry was talking about, especially in her experience as an ER vet, how oftentimes cats will come in or pets will come in with conditions that are mirroring a condition the human has.
Mm-hmm.
How she really recognized that they're part of the world she can heal. Yes, she can ER medicine, but so much of it is in helping that human heal, and how much the things that we take on. Talk about woo-woo, girls. Wow, she has
But it's not. I mean, she also has like a ton of science. She did like a huge lecture at AHBMA and has like the science behind what is it called?
Her was on quantum biology.
Quantum
Biology, right? And relating it to pets. I hate this echo.
Sorry, but also just another incredible resource and light in the world as far as like kind of helping us all connect dots when we're dealing with anything that's out of balance.
Mm-hmm.
Can you mention her name again? Doctor, what was it?
Barry
Sands, Barrie, and then Sands, Sands. She's not very active on social media, but
we're gonna
push her to try to be a little bit. She's trying to get more active on social media, but we've heard about her for years, I feel. But we finally got to meet her, and she was, just blew our socks.
Yeah,
amazing.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
I just wanted to go back real quick before I forget to environmental stuff. Like, I love using homeopathy. So homeopathic remedies are super, super easy to use with cats. So what I tell people is do a Google search, your best friend Google, and look at homeopathy for itchy skin. And you'll find tons of pages and sites. Look for the ones that are written by the Indians like from the country India. The doctors over there practice homeopathy. They are so well knowledgeable about this, but they're going to put remedies and they're going to put the rubrics or the descriptions next to them, and you can best match up your cat's symptoms with a remedy and find a remedy to address the itchy symptoms that your cat's going through.
Yep.
And so, yeah, using homeopathy is one of my favorite tools.
Yeah, you put Pooh Bear on some homeopathic remedies several times that really helped his itchy skin because he had an autoimmune disease, which is another reason why many cats can, and also from being over vaccinated is why he had that autoimmune disease. And so Pam had him through, we were putting him through he went through detoxes, and then we did some homeopathic remedies that worked so beautifully that we were able to wean him off of steroids to keep those symptoms under control. So I second that for sure.
Girls, I'm looking. I know we had a late start today because our internet decided to poop out as soon as we jumped on. But we're already 6 minutes over, and I know we got to wrap it up. Everyone's got some busyness to get to. But anything that we haven't touched on or anything top of mind when it comes to itchy skin and causes or treatments, go.
Flame retardants. Flame retardants in your environment. And I had to do some research on this because I ended up writing an article about it because a lot of the, it's so interesting, client energy sessions coming up with like flame retardant energy. I'm like, oh, okay, I guess I have to learn about this. Did you know that one of the most common sources of flame retardants is foam? Foam like pillows, foam cat beds, foam dog beds, the squishy foam kind of stuff, the stuff that they put in your couch cushions, your barstool cushions. That could potentially be contributing to itchy skin. So that's just something else, put your detective hat on and start looking through potential sources of flame retardants in your environment.
Yeah, it's also one of the leading contributors, according to recent studies, of hyperthyroidism in cats. And we're finding that in so many different places. Our furniture being number one, where you're like, what, how, like, why, but they put flame retardants on these chemicals because they're because if your house catches on fire, they're just going to blow up. If your couch is not,
it's a bomb.
Yeah. So they put these chemicals on it. Now they are coming out with new, like, now that this is being made aware, like, people know more about flame retardants. They're starting to come out with and disclose if the furniture that you're purchasing has flame retardants. But we're not all going to be like, okay, I'm going to go sell my couch and get another one. I get that. Put a blanket over it, right? Yeah. It's simple to just kind of like keep it as far away
mitigate
from
it as much as possible, and especially those new non-flame retardant or whatever they are, they're really expensive. So nothing in our near future for sure. So mitigate as much as we can.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Julianne, anything top of mind?
Herbs.
Well, actually, I wasn't going to go herbs today. I know that you ladies do like your herbs. I know. I can't. But I was going to say energy, because when you're working with energy with a cat, whether you're doing Reiki or healing or chakra work or whatever, when you see a cat flick and itch and scratch, that is a sign of shifting energy. It's a sign of energy processing. So when you have a healing session with the cat, you might see them have a clean afterwards. That's them shifting energy. If you're working like sort of like at a distance, you may also notice that they kind of have a bit of a scratch or a flick, or there are fur ripples at the back. I'm not talking about hyperesthesia. I'm talking about in that session. That's all signs of shifting energy. So it could be, we've talked about so many options here tonight. And like Pam said, get your detective hat on. It could also be energy. If you're a super stressed person, if you are a stress ball in your home, and you've got a problem with your cat, and the vets can't find an issue with it, you've tried all this supplement, you can't get to the bottom, you can't find the root cause, it might be energetic. It might be that your cat is shifting their energy and your energy by literally physically moving it off their body. So, that's why people generally come to me at the end of the line when they've tried all these other things that we've talked about, and then say to me, I don't know what else to do. I'm like, it's probably energy. So, the skin, the body, it's the largest organ that a cat has. So we've talked tonight about, working and supporting it from the inside. There's things that you can do if you need topical support as well. And just don't forget the energy. Everything is made of energy, and but there's a physical issue. There's been an imbalance for a very long time. So my opinion, my perspective is get to the root, which is a potential energy imbalance, and look at how you can support that. So that would be my parting word.
I love that. I love that. Now, I do have to say that I have also seen recipes for herbal teas that you can use topically. On your cats to get non-toxic, right? But soothing.
Chamomile.
Chamomile.
That's what I was going to say. I thought it was chamomile.
And peppermint soothing. Ginger can be cooling, although it's warming if you ingest it. So it depends what it is you're trying to do. Again, aromatic cat. Everything's in the book that you need. The herbs, hydrosols, essential oils. We talk about, like you said, using teas, making herbs, dried herb options. There's so many options.
Yes, and aromatic cat is really just, I feel like it's a little book. It's an easy read. You can look up something specific. It's like a little guidebook. I think everyone needs it. It is illuminating, not just for your cat specifically, but just doing stuff that's enriching, doing stuff for yourself. There is so much information in there, and it's super simple. If you're just looking for something, go to the index, be like, oh, what would be great for this?
Yep.
It's incredible.
Yeah,
so
we love it.
Go
we keep it on
Amazon
hand
and grab that book.
Yeah, we keep it on hand. It is on Amazon. Also, Cat Chakras is also on Amazon, which we haven't started yet, but I got Annie. So we'll talk about that after the live. But thank you guys so much for joining us. I can't believe we talked for over an hour.
I know.
We didn't even have the doctor with us.
The good doctor. We missed her though.
We did.
She will be back at some point. But thanks to all of you that joined us on this beautiful Monday.
We've got company coming up to our door right now.
So we're going to have to jump off. We love you guys so much.
Yes, we love
all of you, everyone.
And we will be live tonight on Facebook, TikTok, then Instagram, then Facebook and YouTube, starting at 5 p.m. Pacific time, 8 p.m. Eastern. So if you guys have other questions, come join us. If you guys want more information from Julianne or Pam Roussel, link is in the description to their website. So we love you guys so much. Thank you for joining us. Mwah, and we will see you very soon.
Mwah. Have a great
Thank you, everyone. Bye for now.